Well, Andrew Collins used to brag that he could tell if someone had drugs on them just by looking at them. Still, his most famous arrest came after he cuffed a man who didn't have any. But that didn't stop Andrew from filing a police report against an innocent man. And ultimately, it landed both men behind bars.
Andrew Collins woke up on February 8, 2006, determined to make a drug bust. He was a narcotics cop, trying to make a name for himself. Jameel McGee headed to the grocery store that morning and had no idea he wouldn't see his infant son for 3 more years. Andrew set his sights on Jameel as he walked into the store, then falsely accused Jameel of possessing crack cocaine. Jameel spent 3 years in a federal prison as an innocent man, hoping to one day get revenge. But 2 years later, after an investigation for falsifying police reports, Andrew also went to prison. In their book, Convicted, Jameel and Andrew share how their paths crossed as free men and why Jameel chose to pursue forgiveness and reconciliation for themselves, their community, and our racially divided country.
Well, for the rest of the story, we bring in Andrew Collins and Jameel McGee. And welcome to the 700 Club.
Thanks for having us.
Jameel, I'm reading this story, and I've got to say, if it wasn't for bad luck, you wouldn't have any luck. I mean, it just seems to be an ongoing thing with you.
Yes.
Do you ever sort of cry out, why God?
Oh, I did plenty of times. Why me? But now I know why. You know, I needed to get through those things to be who I am today.
Well, I've got to say that you're giving Nelson Mandela a run for his money. I mean, you're to come through with a smile. Well, take us back to the day when you got arrested. You were going to see your son.
My son's mother was on her way to bring him, and for me to see him for the first time. And I just wanted to go to the store and get some stuff. I got pulled over that morning for driving on suspended license, so I didn't want to make that decision and drive again. And my cousin's friends was at my auntie's house where I was living at the time, and I asked them, can I go to the store? Would they take me to the store? And they was like, yeah, I'll take you, I'll run you over there. And we get to the store, he asked me to use my phone. I grabbed my phone, went inside the store, and man, when I came out, it wasn't pretty. You know, I was being arrested for possession of drugs, which I didn't have.
Did you think it was just a big mistake and everything was going to get cleared up?
Yes, that was, man, even the officer that I was in his car said that, just calm, because I was very, very upset. And he was just like, calm down. If you ain't got nothing to do, if you ain't had nothing to do with this, you ain't got nothing to worry about. Just, it'll all be cleared up when we get to the station. And when we got to the station, I was sent to jail.
It got worse.
Yeah, it got worse.
All right, Andrew, I'll turn to you. What was going on with you that day? Why did you arrest him?
Yeah, so I had started the day, caught a guy with some crack cocaine. He made a phone call, ordered up some more crack cocaine, and then he told me where the vehicle would be and who was bringing it. So I had in my mind who the target was. When I got to the store, the vehicle was there, and there was one guy in the car, but he had some physical ailments. So I knew that wasn't my target because I knew my guy wasn't physically disabled. And then all of a sudden another guy comes out of the store who ended up being Jameel. So I thought, there's my guy. So I went up to him and I walked through the entire motion that day thinking guilty, guilty until proven innocent. So I had my filter was that this guy was absolutely guilty and it was my job to bridge the gap. So I ended up lodging him under the name who I thought he was. I thought I was going after this target, and it was 2 days later that it came to my attention through fingerprints that he was not the man. So I ended up falsifying the report even further to make sure that the conviction stuck, because in my mind, I was convinced he was guilty, and it was my job to...
So that's why you didn't let him go?
That's right.
The fingerprints came back, you had the wrong guy, and...
I just changed the report. I put a supplemental report in saying I was wrong that day. This is who it really was.
This wasn't the only time you did this. There's a whole string of these.
Yeah. So there was many instances where, the beginning of my career, I saw it as creatively articulating my reports. I saw it as I wasn't breaking the law. I was just bending the law to do my job better. Looking back on it now, that's ridiculous. And it's illegal. You can't do those things.
And you went to jail for it.
I did. I ended up getting caught with crack, heroin, and marijuana in my office. And that was the end of my world as I had built it. So
How long did you spend in jail?
So I did 18 months. I was looking at 22 years originally. I accepted the Lord at age 7. Accepted Jesus as my Savior, but not as my Lord. So the rest of my life, I kind of walked out my own lordship, and that kind of brought me back to my place of faith. A 3-day journey. Got caught on a Tuesday, thought about killing myself on Wednesday, and then talked to a pastor on Thursday, and we talked about that lordship piece. And even though I had come back to Christ, come back to faith, I still had consequences I had to walk through. But we saw God's grace through it all. We prayed for God's grace and that he would soften the heart of the judge and the prosecutor. So we went from 22 years to 12 years to 10 years to 7 years to 5 years. And then I ended up with a 37-month sentence, which I served 18 months on.
All right, you ultimately get out. It ultimately comes out you're wrongfully convicted. You get out, and then Andrew's out. And let's fast forward to the moment where you see him. And what goes through your mind?
Whew. I was angry. Everything, excuse me, everything I thought about.
But not be angry.
Yeah. Everything I thought about in prison, and that I made a goal for myself in prison that whenever I got home, I was going to try to kill him. I was going to hurt him. That was my goal. And then when I came home, when I first saw him, now we face to face, I'm like, oh boy. Yeah, it's time to get him right now. So I beeline right over there to him, and I stuck out my hand, and I asked him, did he remember who I was? And he was, act like he was contemplating. He was like, yeah. He said, as soon as he said my name, Jameel McGee, I grabbed his hand, and I locked on it, and my mind was telling me just to hit him right there and there, hit him, hit him, hit him. Then,
so you reach out your hand to shake his hand.
Yeah.
And you grab it, and you're going to hit him.
Yes. Oh, I'm squeezing his hand really, really tight.
Andrew, what's going through your mind?
Yeah, so I'm standing in the park that day during a church outreach event, and I see this guy coming at me, and it was clear that he was coming straight to me. And I was going through the Rolodex in my mind of the people who I had offended, and as soon as I shook his hand, it came to me, Jameel McGee. And when he gripped on, I was thinking, oh no, this is not going to end well, because I felt like God had called me back to the city to be reconciled with people for the wrongdoings I had done. And he looked at his son and he said, tell my son why he missed out on years of his daddy's life. Wow. And I said, man, there's nothing I can do but tell you I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for the things I did. I was addicted to myself and my ego. I'm so sorry for the things I did to you. And I wanted reconciliation that day, but as you read in the book, that's not exactly how that day ended. So,
how did that day end?
That day ended with Jameel leaving the park after saying some... This is a Christian. He said some things to me.
That you can't say on TV.
And then we didn't see each other again.
But you let go.
Yes.
And what happened to you when you let go?
Man, some things started changing for me. I began to do a lot of things different than I normally would. But when I let go, I knew then that I was giving my son something different to look up to. So letting go of that.
Did he get that?
Oh, yeah. Yes, he got that.
Was he expecting you to...
Probably so.
break bad? And
I think everybody was expecting that day at the park.
Yeah, pretty much everybody that was there pretty much expected something to go down.
And you let go.
And I let it go.
You let go. And now, and I find this absolutely amazing, you guys are friends.
Yes.
You're friends. You didn't just let it go.
No.
Yeah.
You said, I'm going to be part of his life, and he's going to be a part of my life.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm closer to this man than a lot of my family.
Yep.
And it used to be, there was a lot of that was built out of guilt at the beginning of our friendship. And he's just been so passionate and so caring to me to allow me to walk through that process every time I apologize to him when I come to a new revelation of how wrong I had really treated him. And we're able to just look at life together. I mean, we stand for something greater than ourselves. It's a black man who was innocently convicted, or who was innocent but got convicted, and a white police officer. We understand we stand for something bigger in our country right now, and that God has given us this opportunity.
Well, let's talk about this. I mean, how do you view your story speaking into Black Lives Matter?
Yeah. I mean, I look at, a month ago, Jameel had a really bad encounter with police officers where they accused him of smelling like marijuana, and by the end of the day, he's sitting in the back of a squad car. Almost identical story from my incident with him. And as they search his car, they find our book in the trunk. And then the whole scene changes. They called the tow truck back. They're no longer towing his vehicle. They let him out of the car, take the handcuffs off of him, even though they've placed their hands on him. No drugs were ever found because no drugs were ever present. And yet I get pulled over 2 weeks after that because I was speeding, because I was really wrong. And never once was I worried about getting pulled out of my car. Never once. I shook the guy's hand and thanked him because he was nice to me, and he wrote it for 5 over instead of 18 over. Like, there's a difference in how we perceive things and how we've experienced police interactions, and we get to speak to that. We'll be in front of the Michigan State Police in November. We've been in front of Little Rock Police Department, and we hope that there will be more opportunities to speak to police departments in the cities.
You think it will change?
I'm hopeful.
Amen.
Definitely hopeful.
I mean, reading your life story, you have a long history of really bad encounters with the police.
Yes. Yeah. And a lot of that, I definitely want to say they were my decisions. They were my decisions. And
well, some of them weren't. When the state police are pulling you just because
no, not
that one.
Not that one.
That's not you.
Not that one. Not that
That's
one.
not on you.
Not that one.
But like he shared in our talks before, is the day that I arrested him, he chose to.
Yeah.
I can't stand on the same side as Jameel and say that it's his fault. It's not. Yeah. But he says, you know, I jumped in the car that day and I knew the guys were up to no good, but I didn't know they were doing that at the moment, you know.
Yeah. So yeah, but I'm hopeful though. I'm hopeful it'll change. Even though with the last incident with the police, it kind of jarred me a little bit to make me realize like this is still going on.
Yeah, it's got to go through your deep in your spirit. Not again.
Yeah. Yes.
Here I am again.
Yes. So that threw me way off. It threw me way off.
How did you get peace in that? Because I see you today, you're smiling. This is just a month ago. This is fresh.
Yeah, this is fresh.
And you're smiling and you're saying, you know, God's good and I'm loving life today. How do you do that?
Man, I keep pushing. Because I know if I fall back off into the anger, that type of mindset is not going to change anything. Because all they're going to get is the angry guy. You know, if I change my approach and keep going about my day, okay, that happened. You know, I can't do nothing about what that just happened, so I can't do nothing about it. It already happened. So what I can do something about is stopping it from happening to myself again and other people that looks like me.
Amen. Amen. Keep preaching that. It's a great message. I could talk to you guys for a long time, but we're out of time. If you want to know more about this story, Andrew and Jameel have collaborated for a book. It's called Convicted, and it's available in stores nationwide. I encourage you to get it. We need answers today. We certainly know the problem of what's going on, and we need answers, and this book will show you a way. Yeah. Thanks for being here. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks
God
for
bless
having
you.
us.
Yeah.